Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update post to my girlfriend opening up the relationship, and then asking to close it. Original post. So, me and my girlfriend are both 23 and have been dating for 4 years now. She had an ex before me, but she's my first in everything. Well, 6 months ago, she said she was looking into having an open relationship, and it would be good for the two of us to get some experience that way so we wouldn't get bored of each other. I was very against the idea, but she said there was no other option for her, and I didn't want to lose her, so I agreed. We made the rule that we'd tell each other who and when we were hooking up with others, and after 2 days of this starting, she went and slept with her ex. I was kinda sad, and to lift my spirits, my friends took me to a club. We danced and enjoyed there, and joined a girl group. One of them started grinding on me and I took her number. We met up later at my place and did it. And it was so much better. My girlfriend was what one would call a pillow princess. She'd close her eyes and do her best not to make any noise, just kinda lay there and took it. And it made me uncomfortable, so our intimate life dropped. But this girl was wild. She made noise like crazy and really made me feel like she enjoyed me. I had told my girlfriend about her, and she just sent a thumbs up emoji and a text that she'd be hooking up with her ex again. It was weird, and it did click with me that she just wanted to mess around with her ex, but I was also having fun and didn't want to close up again. I was feeling confident, handsome, and attractive for the first time in a while, and I realized that she never actually made me feel that way. We started seeing each other less and less. We went from hanging out daily for the first 2 years to 3 or 4 times a week to once a week. One day, we were out at the mall together and she stopped at a store to try out some clothes. I ran into a friend of mine in the store and we started chatting and openly flirting, and it ended with her telling me that she hoped we could meet again soon, in front of my girlfriend. I think on that day she changed a bit. She stopped sending me a text telling me who she was with, and she said it was because she wasn't doing it with anyone anymore. We started spending more time together because she wanted to. She started initiating more and started trying out new stuff and generally being more affectionate. I knew this was love bombing, but I enjoyed it, so I didn't really do much. I still took advantage of the open relationship though and would still go out to have fun, and this started irking her. She asked me why I was still with others now that she was giving me all the attention I wanted, and she insinuated that I wanted to cheat on her, which is why I agreed to it. To which I said I was the reluctant one, and she brought it up. She said she regretted it and that she only had one partner and realized he wasn't as good as I was, so she ditched him, and now she wants to close the relationship again. I told her what she was like in bed and how I felt terrible around her before, and opening up our relationship brought back my confidence. She started crying and hugged me and said she didn't know that and she'd make up for it with me, and asked me if I was going to leave her. I said it had crossed my mind, but I thought not to. She cried even harder, then fell asleep, and I realized that I really don't want to close this relationship. I've been feeling attractive and desired for a while now, and I really enjoy it. She has said she'll do her best to make me feel like that, and said that she loves me and doesn't want me to leave her, and she's also changed a bit, complimenting me and stuff, which makes me feel a bit better. I am actually willing to close the relationship, but I would need a guarantee that she won't go back to being what she was, which I don't really have. So here I am. Do you guys think it's best to close the relationship? Should I even stay in this relationship? Will she go back to being what she was? Now for the top advice before reading the update. How does one gain new experience from banging their ex? Like, you've already been there, but I digress since I know I am trying to apply logic to an obvious lie. 100% she was definitely flirting / getting wanted attention from her ex way before she brought up the open thing. She had to make sure it was gonna happen. Wouldn't surprise me if they'd already planned a date beforehand. I agree, they always have a specific person lined up and ready to go before they ask for the green light. Yep, my now ex-wife did this a few weeks ago. Asked for an open relationship. I said no, we now broke up, and she got a date immediately with a guy from work. It's always the same, and it's why open relationships don't work. Being completely honest here, she just opened the relationship so that she could do her ex. Huge red flag in my book. Just get out of there, enjoy your freedom, and find someone else. Yeah, I figured that out a little later, but was also meeting up with others myself, so didn't really care much when I found out. You didn't care anymore because you already ended your relationship emotionally. Not really a reason to continue with her if you don't regard her as your girlfriend. Best for you guys is to break up. Yeah, I guess I should just face reality. She does seem to be changing, but I'm kind of feeling it's too little too late. Yeah, it shouldn't take other people for you to act right for your partner. She should have been acting right from the start, especially as this isn't her first relationship, so she should already know. And now for the update. Those who like it long story short, we broke up. Those who like juicy details, here goes. So after making my post, I saw that breaking up was my best option. Not just because I didn't want to close the relationship, but also because she had lied and manipulated me and was very likely doing it again in the form of love bombing. I didn't want to be the horrible guy who breaks up over text. I also didn't want to risk her changing the narrative to paint me in a bad light, so I decided to meet her in a public restaurant with a friend of hers as a reliable witness so she wouldn't be able to slander me later. We were supposed to meet the day before yesterday, but something came up and me and her friend forgot about the date. I arranged for a makeup meeting yesterday, keeping everything the same. Well, yesterday I arrived at the restaurant and she was already sitting there. She cheerfully waved at me, but her face went from confusion to shock to sadness when she saw I had brought her friend with me. She asked me what the friend was doing there. I said she was just here to verify what happens here at a later date if necessary. She just tilted her head a bit. Well, I told her I was done with her, and not in a good way. I told her off for the manipulation, the clear desire to cheat without having a guilty conscience, and the fact that she thought I wouldn't be able to get anyone. She got defensive and started crying and said it wasn't like that. But I interrupted her and said that that was exactly what it was like, and I knew that she had been fooling around with her ex before we opened the relationship. I didn't, and it was a shot in the dark, but it hit its mark. She completely broke down sobbing and said she was sorry and was just confused at the time. She said she didn't want to lose me and tried to get me to remember the good times we had. All that did for me was show me how long back our relationship had actually died, and I just said that to her. There was more crying. She said she would change. I said I hope she did, for the next guy she would be with, but it wouldn't be with me. She said to me that she would keep the relationship open and wouldn't be with anyone if that was the problem. I said that our relationship ended as soon as she asked to open it. I just didn't know it at the time. She was bawling and people's eyes started running over to our table. I just said that I'd return her stuff within a few days and left while she was face down on the table with her friend consoling her. So yeah, I'm done. For the first time in 4 years, I'm single. And for the first time in a year or so, I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'm gonna follow the majority of the advice given to me and enjoy my youth. I won't be actively hunting for a relationship for a while, but if the right one comes along, then lucky me. Thanks everyone who took time to write comments. Thanks to the people that DM'd me and provided valuable advice. Except that one idiot, you know who you are. I did get a blast of messages and calls from my ex, begging for another chance. I thought it'd be satisfying to see it, but honestly, it was just sad. I ignored the messages, left my phone at home and went to a friend's place to hang out, without having to ask her if she's cool with it. I'm really gonna enjoy being single. Edit, guys, I really love the support, thank you so much. I'm reading every single comment. I'm not replying right now, but I assure you, I'm reading all of them. You did the right thing by not accepting her open relationship BS and dumping the cheater. She tried the old gaslighting, saying she changed and she'd keep it open for you. What a joke. Opening a relationship when only one person, the cheater, wants is just so they can say they weren't cheating. You showed you have respect for yourself and will not tolerate that crap. Have a good life and maybe one day you will find the right person for you. In the meantime, have fun with your newfound freedom. She said that I could sleep with whoever I wanted to if I would be in a relationship with her. I mean, I could also do that if I'm not in a relationship with her. I have some sort of special appreciation for mentioning the one idiot. Thank you for that. Yeah, it felt wrong not to mention him. What did he say? He asked me to send my girlfriend's photos to him, and if he considered her worthy of his time, he'd help me out by sleeping with her and showing me she's in the wrong and still wants to sleep around. I don't know how someone's head can be that far up their butt, but damn. It is good you went for a clean break instead of continuing the open relationship and dragging the relationship on. You plan not to jump into a new relationship like a rebound one is a wise choice. Time to go no contact with your ex and give her time to heal from the regrets of her actions. Now for the last story. Polyamory is a freaking joke. We were married for 15 years. Our marriage was wonderful. She always had problems with mental health, but I loved her so much that I was willing to help her with those problems forever. She gave me 2 beautiful children who I continue to cherish. 18 months ago, she wanted to try polyamory and started a relationship with a guy she met online with my enthusiastic support. 3 months ago, that relationship ended. Then she met another man who she fell in love with. They made plans for him to fly out here and for them to spend a weekend alone in a hotel. It did not take me long to realize that polyamory wasn't for me. I had assumed that it would have been a group thing, but what she wanted was a private relationship with him. I tried my hardest to be okay with it, but I could never get around the idea. I put myself through a lot of pain trying to make it happen, and I couldn't. I told her that I couldn't do it, crying as hard as I've ever cried before. And rather than being comforting for me, she went dead. All she could think about was herself. All she could think about was having to end her relationship with him. Less than a month later, she left me. She said she's been unhappy for 2 years, but it seems awfully suspicious that she would say nothing for 2 years, only to say something once she was unable to have some other guy come over and do her. She didn't have a job. I supported her and our family. I gave her 15 years of my life, abandoning any dream I might have so that I could work a job that would provide us a stable income. I gave her everything she ever wanted, entertained every hobby, and encouraged every dream she ever had. I was good to her. I was good to our children. I continue to be a fantastic father. But none of that seems to matter to her. All this seems to matter to her is that she get what she wants, no matter the cost, no matter the toll it takes on the people who love her. I'm seeing other people now. I've cleaned up my house, and I'm moving on with my life. Still, however, I find myself incredibly bitter some mornings. I was wronged. She was selfish, and now my family has been cut in half because of it. The most annoying part of all of this is that she'll never realize what she really did. She'll never realize how badly she treated me. She'll never realize how selfish she's been. Polyamory is a freaking joke, and it destroyed my relationship with the woman I loved more than anyone else in my entire life. Last night she said she was going to come by and help me put up the Christmas tree with the kids. She stayed at her Airbnb, which her boyfriend is paying for. What a waste of freaking time. Now for the comments. I can't even fathom how emotionally drained you are from all this. I'm sorry. I know this all hurts so much. On the other hand, he's now free from this life leech. Maybe everything worked out for the best. Everyone whose spouse suggests polyamory should let it happen, document everything, and secretly start planning for divorce. Sounds like he was relatively happy before. There aren't many things that make it for the best when a family gets ripped apart. He's now free, but they have children together. As long as both of them care to be a part of the children's lives, he will never be free. That's not to say he can't live a perfectly happy life, but to say this worked out for the best is kind of crazy. She wanted a hall pass to explore her options. Then she found another option. She wanted you as a safety net in case it didn't work out. Yep, she wasn't poly. She was unhappy and wanted to test the waters without rocking the boat until she found someone. It's a little messed up that it's so hard to make a living in our society that a partner feels she has to play games like that at all. A former couple in my friend group is going through that, where she really can't afford to live on her own yet, so they're just ghosts in the same apartment after she spent a year keeping her mouth shut about her feelings. It's toxic all around. I've heard so many stories like this, including from a personal friend. I'm convinced like 80% of people that suggest poly aren't really poly and are just monkey branching. That isn't to say poly isn't legitimate, it's just that most people use the concept as an excuse to try someone else without committing to breaking up. Sorry this happened to you. I've seen this story time and time again. When a partner brings up becoming poly in a closed relationship, yes, something is wrong. It's a tale as old as time. Whether it's called the hall pass, celebrity freebie, open marriage, poly, or the short break to find myself, people who want to step out will always be inventing new excuses. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update: I never want to be intimate again, like ever, but I do not want to lose or hurt my husband. I've been struggling with this for over a year. Original post: I, 29 female, am married to a man who we shall call John, 30. I saw other posts on here of others in a similar spot, and I have done a few things over the last year or so. I have been to doctors, therapists, asked around online about solutions, but my libido is just flat dead. Nothing brings it back. Nobody has had answers, yet. I am in perfect shape, so is he, and I haven't lost love or physical attraction. No body dysmorphia. Hormonal levels are fine. I am not on hormonal birth control. I don't take any other medications. I tried stupid online BS and snake oil, but I think deep down I knew that stuff was never going to work. We have been together for 7 years, married for 3. We are happy, we have a home and good careers, 3 wonderful dogs, and our families get along. But I just cannot stomach the idea of ever doing it again. It makes my skin crawl thinking about it. I have either been making excuses to put it off or just grinning and bearing it when he was clearly just riled up, and I didn't have the heart to look him in the eye and say, "You." I literally have a cry the next time I'm alone. I was his first, but he wasn't my first, and I taught him how to be my lover. Everything was fine for over 5 years. John is considerate, takes his time, made sure we both had fun and felt satisfied. I feel so awful even considering talking to him about it. Before last year, we had done it nearly every day, but over the last year, my drive has slowly died. I think that I just do not want to do it, ever again. Is that so odd? Why is that so wrong? How do I approach this with John? I plan to sit him down on our next day off together, which is in 5 days. I have that long to decide what to do. I can't do this to him or myself any longer than that. Is it right for me to unilaterally cut that part of our relationship out? I do not think so, but everyone says that I shouldn't be forced to do it just to keep my marriage, which sounds idiotic based on the other posts here. I know intimacy is important. I don't know what to do next. He has been completely in the dark on this because I'm scared of divorce. I don't want him to think I don't love him or think he's unattractive. I'm scared to hurt my best friend. I don't want him to resent me or to feel trapped. Just any advice, please. I feel like I am about to burn our entire lives down. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You must communicate this to him. He needs to be able to choose between you and a dead bedroom or moving on. You are certainly within your rights to not want to do it again, but you don't have the right to choose that for John. It makes my skin crawl thinking about it. I have either been making excuses to put it off or just grinning and bearing it when he was clearly just riled up, and I didn't have the heart to look him in the eye and say, "You." I literally have a cry the next time I'm alone. If it's this extremely bad, John needs to know. He needs to figure out how to handle it. There's a third option, that's for him to have a hall pass for physical relations only. But that's very tricky. Personally, I believe that hall passes are a trap that lead to jealousy and a bunch of other small relationship problems that build up and become a lot. If you can do it, it's a great compromise, but it's only a great compromise if you're personally okay with your husband sleeping with others. If this even slightly vexes you, imagine how it'll feel after a tough day at work, traffic on the way home, and the Starbucks messed up your order, and you pull home to find your car has a flat, and then your husband tells you he has a friend coming over later, or whatnot. You've talked to a lot of people and sought a lot of help, but you haven't spoken to him about it, and you need to. It's good that you've planned a time to do it. You're doing it with him when you don't want to, out of obligation. That's traumatizing and unhealthy. It definitely won't help you get your drive back. All it's doing is reaffirming the repulsion that you're experiencing at the moment. It's not wrong that you don't want to do it, but you recognize that you're currently incompatible physically. Explain how you're feeling, tell him you love him, and find him attractive and that you have fears that your honesty will end in divorce. Put it all on the table and then figure it out together. I know I should have talked to him sooner. Fear has made me not for so long, but I know I have to put things on the table. I had not thought about the trauma aspect. I might need to mention that too. I would not mention to him that intimacy with him is traumatizing. That's so unfair when you have not communicated this to him before. This news is going to be blindsiding enough without you basically telling him he's been victimizing you. I just don't see how that would be helpful. Your line in the sand is no more intimacy, so rather than expanding on the ways in which you think doing it is terrible, perhaps focus on what compromises you're prepared to make to maintain the marriage. Are you willing to make this an open or polyamorous relationship? Do you all want kids? If so, how would they be made? You shouldn't have intimacy you don't want to have, but this is a deal-breaker situation for most people, and I would honestly be surprised if that wasn't the case here. But if you really want to make the marriage work, then you should be prepared to explain what you envision the relationship looking like going forward. No one should be forced to do anything, but it's important for you to acknowledge that you're the one changing the very foundation of your relationship as romantic and intimate partners, and it's not reasonable to expect that he will forego that forever. And now for the update. I decided to talk to him sooner rather than later and took a few days off from work to sort this out. I think he might have left me over the line to him for a year part. I am mostly just venting, but if you have thoughts, by all means. I do not think there is anything I can do alone to fix this. John was not angry at first, but made it clear that he would not support being in a dead bedroom marriage. He was also a bit annoyed that I asked if he would be okay sleeping with others. He is one of those super honest and holds to his values quite strongly, which is one of the many things I respect about him. There was a lot of emotions. He walked around the neighborhood a few times, would come back in and ask questions, then leave again. He goes on walks to clear his head, so this is not strange. He was angry after I told him how long I had kept this to myself, and to be clear, he asked for a timeline. I told him about the doctors, snake oil, and the therapy. I knew he was going to be mad, but John was red and absolutely freaking silent. I've only seen him genuinely mad once before, and it quite literally paralyzed me to have him look at me that way. John has never and will never hurt me, but he never made me feel small or vulnerable. His size always made me feel safe, but in that moment, I felt different. He just walked away, got his laptop bag, and said he was going to a friend's house. I have a feeling I know which one, but I did not have a chance to ask. I have not heard back from him since he left 2 days ago. I called and texted, but he didn't answer me directly. Instead, I got a call from his older sister. She asked me to just leave him be and let him work stuff out for the moment. At least I know he's somewhere safe. Then she asked me what I did to upset him so much, and I foolishly told her the truth. That went just swell. I completely needed my butt chewed, because that can only help, right? Sarcasm, in case that's not obvious. At this point, I just want him to come home. He has been the perfect partner, and I just want him to talk to me. He doesn't deserve this. I should have never kept anything to myself. We have a king-sized bed that I am sleeping in alone. The dogs are clearly confused, sleeping by the door, because I am the only one feeding and walking them instead of both of us. My plan, assuming he goes along with it, is suggesting couples therapy. That's all I got. Let him process this. It's a lot. It really is. If my wife came to me and told me she'd been bearing it and that doing it with me made her skin crawl for a year, as she said in the previous post, I would feel freaking insane. Like, he's going to feel like a goddamn predator. I would feel like I had been unknowingly victimizing my wife for a year. I'd be furious too. Like, she's put him in the worst possible position here by just refusing to be honest with him. This is the reason. My husband recently overheard me telling someone that way back when I had postpartum depression, I had to stop Prozac after a few months because it killed my libido and made my skin crawl. Now, my husband and I have always had an awesome fun life that I greatly enjoy. He was still devastated, truly distraught, at the thought that I was grinning and bearing it for a few months 15 years ago. I assured him that I liked the closeness and it felt good once I warmed up, which was true, by the way. If you're going to tell your husband you don't want to do it anymore, that's one thing. But you can't tell a man who cares about you that all those activities you've had for a year has been unwanted and skin-crawlingly awful. That's cruel and completely breaks any trust. He's going to think, what else have you been faking and lying about? Can attest to this. I was personally told recently that my significant other dealt with it and just used it to get that physical satisfaction, and that it had been going on like that for a while. I'm still pretty reeled back about it and can't help but feel like I was being used. Based on what you say are his strong values about monogamy, you've given him a deal breaker. You've also told him that you've felt this way for a year, which means every time y'all were intimate, he was under the impression that you were an enthusiastically willing participant. He needs time to process, and really, you should assume there's no coming back from this. And by bringing up an open relationship, her husband probably thinks that she doesn't want him anymore, but has someone else in mind. He was also a bit annoyed that I asked if he would be okay sleeping with others. It was definitely when she mentioned this. If I was in the husband's shoes, that would be ringing alarm bells in my head. I'm sure OP has no intent of malice, but it definitely doesn't come across in a positive light. She's dug herself a hole so deep that there's no way to recover this relationship. Don't bother wasting money on marriage counseling. Do the right thing and initiate a divorce, and don't take any of his assets. He gets to keep the house. I will see what he says. If he's willing to help search for a solution, then I will too. We have a prenup. Now for the last story. I, 50 female, found out my cheating husband, 50 male, has been working for 1% of his usual salary for 2 years without telling me. I caught my husband in an affair a year ago. We have 3 kids together, aged 24, 19, and 17. I thought that I needed to give the man I've been building a life with since we were 24 another chance. The affair was with a woman, 23 female, he met while on an extended business project in Boston. We live in Texas. I thought that it was a midlife crisis he would step out of, and he seemed very remorseful. He said there was just lust between them and offered up financial documents showing that he paid for her rent and paid off her credit cards, but claimed that was it. He agreed to end this relationship immediately and said he wanted to commit to family again. The only blame he tried to put on me was that he did feel slightly disappointed that I did not even consider his suggestion to look into implants, and said that my fears for getting implant illness are overblown. My husband works as an accountant and has climbed his way up to an executive position. At the firm I thought he was still working at, he was an equity partner, and all the colleagues on his level and the board of directors are all extremely close to him. One of his cousins is on the board of directors, and his half-brother is one of the firm's most lucrative clients. Another person on the board of directors literally owes his life to my husband because they were friends in their 20s, and one morning, when my husband decided to check up on him, he found him overdosing and choking on his own vomit. My husband cleared his airways and gave him the right medical attention until help came. This man has said that he is my husband's servant until the day he dies. Besides that, my husband has also been asked to be the godfather for many of his other colleagues' children. The industry is definitely still an old boys club, and besides my husband's connections, he also brings a joint law and business degree to the table. So it goes without saying that I was more than shocked to find out through his friend's ex-wife that my husband has not officially worked at his company for over 2 years, and while he still spends all his time with them, the company effectively divorced him on paper. At his level, a firing would be nearly impossible, and come only after a lot of bad blood and conflicts, but apparently he has been fired this entire time, and his equity dividends also mysteriously disappeared. This was all happening while my husband and I continued to go to these people's homes and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries with them, with everybody acting like nothing has happened. I asked my friend how she knows, and she says she was sorry that she was telling me this, but she was sick of her ex-husband's financial deceits during divorce, and that she didn't want this to happen to anybody else. She said her ex confessed when he was drunk that my husband was making $25,000 a year as a so-called receptionist or assistant at a small company owned by a friend of a friend, but basically just gets on the phone all day, talking business with his former colleagues. I decided to hire a private investigator, and I found out that not only was my husband going to an office 2 towns over to work, but he'd just as often leave that office and go to a coffee shop, or just walk around on his phone. I decided to look into his devices and found out that they had numerous messaging apps used for cheating, and he was still texting the woman and saying things like, "I'm going to come see you, XOXO. He has not stopped doing business trips, and I guess this explains why. However, I do not have access to most of our financial documents. We have a joint bank account that he puts money into to cover our expenses, and maybe a bit more for luxuries for the kids, but the rest of what he earns and dividends he earns is invested, according to him, or in a savings account that we shouldn't touch. When I married him, he was earning nothing, with expectations of going further into debt, and I nevertheless signed a prenup where I agreed that regardless of the length of our marriage, I would only accept alimony for 2 years. We have been living as a whole, like he still has that high-paying job, and he recently bought a very luxurious car for himself. However, now that I've found this out, I've noticed that he's been saying that because our oldest daughter has a job, that she should just get her own health insurance before she's 26. He also told our youngest daughter that she should take out student loans, because it is good to have a skin in the game, and it's been causing my daughter to ask what was going on with her father and his ever-changing philosophies. What do I do? I am scared to confront him fully because I am honestly rather scared of the fact that I no longer know the man I'm married to. But I made the mistake of saying last night that I felt like he still had feelings for the other woman, and he got very angry and defensive, and said that he thought I was over this. Now for the top advice. He has been planning this divorce for 2 years. Once your youngest is in college, he will serve you. He is fired on paper, so he doesn't have to pay you much alimony. Yep, he split from the firm because her lawyer could ask to audit their business. It's all for show. That's a hard no. A lawyer in a divorce does not get to go audit an entire business. He split from the firm, so he won't get hamstrung paying alimony and any potential child support while the kiddos are in college. If you are a partner, you can't. Do you have a job? It sounds like he's spending down your joint assets, so there will be less to split when he serves you with divorce papers. Talk to a lawyer. Talk to several. You'll probably find he's been to a lot of them. I'm so sorry. He's probably just waiting until your youngest is 18 to file so there's no child support. That was my first thought. He got fired on paper so that his income would only be 20 to 30 grand, and he's spending all of the savings so that there isn't anything for you to get, but he's still working for them and consulting. They're either not paying him or paying him in some under-the-table way, like stocks, or a friend is putting it into savings for him, both of which will be hard to find, but not impossible. There's a 100% chance that they're just going to bring him back in once everything is done, which would just change the child support and potential alimony payout, so not sure why he's going to all of that trouble. She's going to want a divorce attorney, as well as an accountant, obviously unrelated to that firm, to dig into tax records of the last 2 years and see just what kind of shenanigans he's been up to. Depending on what the divorce and accountant dig up, reporting his firm for unethical practices may also be necessary. Sounds like he's smart, but smart people make mistakes too. He's been planning this divorce since his affair, and I would recommend that you get on the same page.